Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Station 07.1 Podfix. So, I've kind of been gone for a couple weeks, I think. I was on vacation and then we had something going on that nobody told me about. So, yeah, I haven't really had any time to record, but I'm doing it now, I swear. Also, I put out a poll. It had 4 different fics I asked you guys to vote on, and the winner was Trespassing in a Child's Head Unwillingly by Kittykqt on AO3. So, here we go again. I'm your host, Rin, and this is a new fic called Trespassing in a Child's Head Unwillingly by Kittykqt. This is rated teen and up audience, no archive warnings, and it is a series, actually, 36 chapters. I will be here for a while. Anyways, here is the summary. After his battle with All for One, All Might isn't doing well. Thinking he will die, he gives his quirk to his young son so it can live on. But something goes wrong in the quirk transfer, and instead of gaining the quirk, Izuku gets all the vestiges. Diagnosed with DID at age 6, the vestiges have to protect this young kid while figuring out where the hell their quirks have went. Even if this means acting like they aren't old pro heroes who could totally level these bullies, if they weren't in a child's body who couldn't care less. He has new friends, and a place to hide and play with toys. Wait, why are there toys in the vestige plane? Chapter 1. Pinky Promise? Izuku didn't know his dad. He could remember a few things, but it wasn't like Ch1 or the other kids' dads. His father had a strong voice, and large hands that made Izuku feel small. But that was it. The man stopped by every few months, back from trips overseas. Izuku wasn't all that happy to see him. It made his mama sad every time he showed up for a dinner or a date and then left the next day. He hated seeing her sad after she did so much, but the last time he expressed his dislike by punching him, his mama had scolded him something harsh. He was fine with this arrangement, as long as he could make his mama happy again afterwards. He was happy. His mama laughed, and he looked up at her from the school project he had, tipping his head. "Who is that?" she asked, looking at his family portrait. He had made it out of their household stuff and trash he had found around. "That's you," he said with a grin, pointing to the popsicle stick with a smile in green yarn. "That's me." He pointed at the small pipe cleaner he had rolled into something that looked vaguely like a human. "And that?" she asked, pointing at the last person on the paper. It was a long, bendy straw that stood off to the side. A yellow leaf stuck to the top. "Dad," he said proudly, moving the hair into the right shape, or what he thought was the right shape. His mom's eyebrows came together, her smile turning into a small frown. She was sad. He had learned emotions in class last week. "Why are you sad again?" he asked her, taking her face and pushing her cheeks up. "I like your smile." She took his hand, kissing it gently as she smiled slightly. He giggled, nodding his head now that his goal was complete. "I'm not sad, baby. Just tired." She said it every time he tried to ask. It was okay. He could help with tiredness. He scrambled down from the kitchen chair, running into the kitchen and clambered onto the counter. He heard his mom's chair move, but he ignored it, teetering on the edge to stand up and get to the high shelf. He grabbed the box he was after, dropping it before jumping down himself. There was tape holding the box pieces together, and he ripped it apart, frowning. "Do you need some help?" his mama asked, from behind the counter. He shook his head, running to the other side, pulling open the junk drawer. He could find anything he wanted in this drawer. Toys and papers and batteries. "Oh, please be careful with those, baby," she called, trying to reach across the counter for the scissors he had gotten. He giggled, running back across the kitchen and stabbing the tape. The tape punctured easily, but he accidentally hit a pod as well, the ground sticking to the scissors. "Oh," he said, pouting slightly as he touched the mess. He heard his mama move again, but he shook his head quickly. "No, I'm doing it," he stated, setting the scissors down on the counter. She laughed slightly and nodded, sitting back down as he raced across the room for paper towels. "Get it wet first, sweetie," she called, and he nodded, putting a little water onto the edge. He wiped up the mess and ripped open the box, throwing away the punctured pod. He grabbed another, opening the machine and dropping it inside before hitting the buttons he always saw her use. "The dish, Izuku," his mama said loudly, and he gasped, looking around for it. "Here," she called, moving the one she had used and rinsed out in the morning across the table. He grinned, grabbing it and sticking it under the machine. He turned back to her with a wide grin, bouncing on his toes to see over the edge fully. "There," he declared proudly, "so you won't be tired anymore." She laughed, moving the big chair beside her out, tapping it gently. He ran around, climbing into it all by himself. "Who taught you how to make coffee, baby?" she asked, ruffling his hair. He giggled, putting his hands on his head so she couldn't move her hand. "I watched you," he said proudly. She smiled, her cheeks getting those little marks that made him so happy. "My little genius." She touched his nose with her other hand, and he giggled, letting go of her hand on his head. "You have to be careful, though. It's very hot," she said, and he nodded, tipping his head to see her better through his hair. She took his cheeks in her hands, moving her forehead so they were inches in front of each other. He dropped his face, trying to look solemn as she stared at him, a small smile on her face. He giggled slightly before forcing himself to be still and win the staring contest they did. Her grin widened before she kissed his nose, making him break into giggles. "Mama!" he whined through laughs as she tickled his side, not letting him get a breath. "That tickles!" he yelled, but she didn't stop, laughing along with him. He couldn't breathe, giggling too much to properly say anything. "Stop!" he finally managed to get out, and she pulled back immediately, grinning at him, her hands resting in her lap. "I couldn't breathe," he whispered, his stomach hurting from laughing too much. She chuckled, kissing his forehead. "Just let me know if it's too much," she reminded him as he wiped his eyes, nodding. She got up, her chair scraping on the floor as she moved into the kitchen. "What would you like for dinner, my little genius?" "Katsudon," he said loudly, slamming his hands on the table. She laughed, nodding as she pulled out food. "Just for you," she said, before pausing. "Why don't you clean off the table right now? Then you can come help me in here." He nodded, hopping down from the chair to grab his stuff. His mama was smiling again, and he couldn't be happier. Izuku perked up, looking over at his mama, who shuffled awkwardly. "Mama," he whined, dragging the word out. "The movie." She laughed, finally fishing her phone out of her pocket. He snuggled back into her, watching the movie they had selected. His favorite character was just crossing the screen, and he grinned, grabbing his mama's arm to get her attention. She stood up quickly, and he fell into the spot she had just been. "Mama?" he asked, moving to sit up again. He went to pause the movie, but she shook her head quickly, biting on her nail as she looked at something on her phone. Just keep watching, baby. Mama will be right back, okay?" He didn't even get a chance to respond as she left the room, the door to her bedroom slamming shut. He paused the movie anyways, staring at the frozen screen for a moment. This was her favorite movie. He tapped the remote against his hand before setting it down and clambering off the couch. He moved slowly, trying not to make any sound as he tiptoed to her room. He couldn't hear much more than muffled words of his mama. Her voice was quick, and he could tell something was wrong even without seeing her. Did work want her to come back in? She had promised to take off the weekend so they could be together for his birthday. He didn't mind if she went in. He didn't want her to get in trouble at work. He liked the babysitter she had for him. She was really nice. He leaned forward, pushing his ear to the door to try and hear better. No, his mama said, pacing on the floor. No, I understand. A pause. Yeah, I'll be there, but what? Of course I will. Can you just tell me? Hold on, please. Okay, yeah, okay. My son is coming. No, I need him there to see his father. No, you don't understand. Please. Okay. I'll sign them there. Okay. Thank you. He could hear his mama's heavy sigh, a small hitch in the sound. Mama? He asked, slowly opening the door. She was sitting in the dark, the street light from the window the only illumination. Her face was buried in her hands, her hair blocking her face from view. Mama? He asked again, pausing beside the door. She looked up at him, tears running down her face, catching on the meager light. Oh, Izuku, she mumbled, wiping her face with her palms. Come here, baby. She tapped the bed beside her, and he moved slowly, messing with his nails. What happened? He asked as he climbed up beside her. She wrapped an arm around him, pulling him to her side. It's your father, she said softly. Oh. He's in the hospital. He got in a bad accident because of a villain. Her voice shook, cutting in and out every few seconds. He didn't like how it churned his stomach, like the katsudon had gone bad. His mama never cried. Izuku took her hand, kissing it gently and rubbing the back of it. Make you feel better? He said, squeezing her hand 3 times like she had taught him. It was their quiet way of saying, I love you. She did it back, holding him tighter. She tried to say something, but it came out as a cry. It's okay, Mama, he muttered, letting her pull him close. He hated seeing her cry after everything she did for him with school and Ch1 and work. She laughed slightly, tapping his head. Why are you so smart, Izuku? She asked. I'm 4, he said proudly, looking up at her. She laughed, wiping her face as she nodded. He squirmed slightly, anxious to move, but she didn't let him go, holding him close to her. He didn't know why she was so upset. He knew the hospital is where you went when you got an owie, like when he scraped his knees up, but they helped you feel better, so Dad would be coming back again in another month, like always. Still, he didn't move, letting her hold him tight. He was worried Mama was going to put him at Ch1's house when she saw Dad. He liked his friend and his mom and Dad, but they were really loud and hurt his ears. His mama was soft and warm while they were explosive and hard. He enjoyed being with his mama more than anyone, even if the room they were in felt big and cold. He shivered slightly, pushing into his mama's big coat she wore, wrapping it around himself. It was too cold in the white room to run around, even though he wanted to move again. The train ride had hurt his legs as he fought to keep them straight like his mama had shown him. He was happy when the nice lady finally came back around the corner, her white coat blending into the walls. Miss Midoriya, she said, walking over to them. Izuku bounced off his chair, sticking his hand into her pocket as he bit on his lip. Izuku, his mom said loudly, pulling him back and holding his hands. I'm so sorry, miss, she said, holding him tight. She laughed, shaking her head as she stuck her hand in his pocket. It's quite all right. She reached behind his ear, and he watched her carefully as her smile grew. Is this what you wanted? She asked, pulling a big red lollipop out from behind his ear. He gasped, pulling his hand from his mama as he took it quickly, unwrapping it. What do you say? His mama asked, laughing just slightly. Thank you, he mumbled, bowing slightly as he shoved the wrapper into his pocket. His old stick was in there as well from an hour ago when she had given him another one. She nodded, looking at his mama. Now, I know this is a lot, but we do have to go through the appropriate channels. Will he be able to sit still long enough for the paperwork and questions? The nurse asked, and he shrugged off his mama's hands. He didn't bother listening to her response, the sweet lollipop giving him a bit more energy. He could hide in her coat when he got too cold. He flipped through the magazines, looking at pictures of big cars and pretty ladies. So, he picked up a picture he didn't know and carried it to her, holding it up. "What's this, Mama?" he asked. But she didn't respond. She kept talking to the nurse as if he wasn't here about papers and people. "Mama, Mama." He tapped her arm, trying to shove the magazine in her face so he could get an answer. She didn't respond, still talking about nonsense things. "Mama, Mama." He pulled on her shirt, still trying to get her attention. "Izuku, please," she yelled, pushing him back slightly. "I'm trying to deal with something." He dropped the magazine, his eyebrows twisting in confusion. "Miss Midoriya, please. He does not understand," the nurse said as she looked down at Izuku. He took a step back, his gaze centered on his mama, who sighed, rubbing her eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, and he slammed his eyes shut. He turned on his heel and ran down the hall the nurse had come through, slipping through the massive oak doors and away from his mama. He didn't like this big place anymore, or the cold rooms. The fact that everyone here was dressed in all white and whispered all the time. "Don't hurt him," his mama screamed from behind him as someone grabbed the back of his shirt. He screamed, kicking in the air before managing to flip and hit their face. He screamed as he hit the floor and took off again, dodging the people who tried to catch him. He just wanted to go home, back where everything was good and he could have his birthday with his mama in peace. "Is that a kid?" someone asked, stepping out of his way as he pushed through another door and kept running. "Someone get him! He can't be back here!" Someone jumped at him from the right, so he ran to the left, ducking into a small walkway. "Shit, where'd he go? Someone find him!" Izuku gasped, wiping his eyes as he stayed pressed into the small area where a machine did not fully touch the wall. He waited until everyone walked past, looking around the area. He didn't know where he was or who was after him. He just wanted to get back home. He walked the way he had come, trying to follow his steps. But this place was so big and everything looked the same. He ran his hands along the wall as he moved, biting his cheek to stop the tears. He didn't mean to make her mad at him, but he was just trying to show her something. His steps halted as someone opened a door on the opposite end of the hall, screaming at people behind them. He grabbed the nearest door handle and opened it before slamming it shut. He stepped back, watching the door as he tried not to cry too loudly as the people came nearer. "Izuku?" someone asked from behind him. He whirled around, slipping and falling on his butt. "Where's your mother?" his dad asked, staring down at him from the white bed. Izuku wiped his eyes quickly, glaring at his dad. "I ran away," he said proudly, standing back up to leave. But he could hear the people right outside, blocking him from leaving. "Now why would you do that, kiddo?" his dad said, the bed creaking as he sat up, groaning. "Your mother." "You look gross," Izuku interrupted. His dad stared at him before laughing slightly, coughing blood up into his hand. "Thanks, kid," he finally said, wiping the blood on a towel. "Are you dying?" Izuku asked, walking to stand beside his father. He smelled gross, and all the machines were very loud closer to him. "I hope so." "Ouch, kid," his dad said, going to touch his head. Izuku stepped back out of his reach. "Now why would you hope that?" he asked as he put his hand back in his lap. Izuku shrugged, climbing up at the foot of the bed. "She wouldn't be sad," he responded, wiping the rest of his tears. "You think she wouldn't be sad if I died?" Izuku hummed before shaking his head. "Yeah, but she'd be happy after. She's getting better." He looked over at his dad, who clutched his side. his blue eyes sunken into something gross and all his muscle gone. If it wasn't for his voice and weird yellow hair tufts, Izuku might not recognize him. "Will you?" His dad laughed, a gross hacking sound, as he shook his head. "I don't know, kid. It doesn't look good. Will your quirk help you?" His dad sucked in a breath, his body making a weird noise as Izuku shifted away from him. "If only I knew about it to tell you." He coughed into his hand again, more blood splattering onto the bed. Izuku shrugged, kicking his feet as he shook his head and watched the door. "Are you sad to die?" "That's a strange question for a kid to ask," his dad responded, wiping at his mouth. "I ask a lot. You aren't there." His dad winced slightly, nodding as he laid back down on the bed, groaning. "If I get better, I promise I'll be there more." Izuku jumped down, moving to stand and look his dad in the eyes as he turned slightly. "No, I'm okay. You can die." His dad stared at him with the gross-looking eyes, a small tear running down his cheek. "Can I ask you to do something for me, Izuku?" Izuku pursed his lips, biting his cheek to try to decide. Mama said not to do anything for old men. "Izuku, please," his dad said in his tired voice. "This is important." "Okay," Izuku finally agreed, nodding. "What is it?" He pulled a strand of hair from his head, and Izuku watched as he held it out, his blood-stained finger touching it. "Gross." "Eat." The door slammed open as people rushed in and jumped at Izuku. He screamed, trying and failing to duck under them. "Sir, I apologize, we could not catch him sooner," the man who held Izuku off the floor said, looking at Izuku's dad. He no longer held the hair. "Izuku!" his mama screamed, rushing into the room, but all the people held her back. "Let him go!" she yelled, reaching for him. "Get her out of here!" someone else yelled as Izuku tried to scratch at the man's hand so he could go to his mama. The bed creaked and everyone quieted except for Izuku as he kicked out at the man, catching him off guard and kicking him in the balls. "Ah, shit!" the man screamed, hitting the floor as Izuku stuck his tongue out. "Let him be," his dad said, as the people got closer to him. "Let her go and leave us, please." Izuku giggled as the man he had kicked got help up, Izuku's mama walking over to crouch beside him. "But the paperwork, sir," the nice nurse said as the people filed out. "An issue to be dealt with at a later time," his father said, waving a hand as he groaned. Izuku's mom ran her hands over his shirt, smoothing it out. "Are you all right, Izuku? I'm so sorry for yelling at you. I shouldn't have lost my cool like that, okay?" she asked quickly, as he just nodded as she searched him for anything. The nurse hesitated by the door, and Izuku watched her fidget slightly. Maybe a lollipop stick was stuck to her butt. He had lost his in the run. Enough!" his dad ordered loudly, making Izuku jump. His mama picked him up, holding him on her hip as she stood. "Leave Kiki, please. I'm tired and would like to speak to my wife and son." The nurse nodded, leaving and shutting the door behind her, leaving them alone. "Inko, dear," his dad said, reaching the gross blood-stained hand out to her. She took it without a word, holding it tight as she adjusted him. "You look beautiful," he said, and Izuku stuck his tongue out. His mama didn't notice, laughing slightly at the words as she somehow got even closer to his bed. "I missed you, love," she said, crouching down to his height as he laid back down with a loud groan. "How are you feeling?" She released his hand, pushing his hair out of his face as he looked up at them. "Like these pain meds aren't helping," he said with a smile, and his mama laughed. It wasn't even a funny joke. "Well, they are," she responded, moving a chair towards them slowly with her quirk. It took a while since it was so big, but she didn't step away from his gross dad, "or else you would have already died," she finally said, taking his hand again as she moved the chair behind her with her foot and sat down. He readjusted to her lap, leaning back into her. "You look dead," Izuku commented. His mom bopped him on the head and he winced, rubbing at it. "Ow!" His dad laughed slightly, the gross squelching coming from him again. "I'm sure he's not wrong. I do feel like I crawled out of a grave." "Oh, hush," his mama said, taking his dad's hand again. "You look handsome. Just focus on getting better and we can go back home. I'm sure the commission will give you some time off with us now." She kissed his hand and Izuku gagged, pulling their hands apart. "Inko," his dad said sharply. His mama shrugged, rubbing Izuku's head. "It's fine. He doesn't understand, do you, baby?" she asked, looking down. He shook his head quickly, grabbing her cheeks in his hands as he pushed her smile up. "Inko," his dad said, suddenly serious. "Yes, hun? I don't think I will be able to go home." His mama smacked his hand, frowning. "Don't you say that. Don't you give up hope." She tightened her hold on him, making him squirm. "It's the truth," his dad said, reaching for her hand. She flinched back, so Izuku slapped his hand away for her. "Don't touch! Mine!" he said loudly, taking her hands and holding them tight. "Inko," his dad said, pulling his hand back to him. "Why don't you get some water? Clear your head." His mama sniffled, and he looked up, blinking at the tears he could see on her face. "Don't tell me what to do," she mumbled, standing up. Izuku hopped down, taking his mama's hand as she headed for the door anyways. "Wait," his dad called, the bed creaking loudly. "Leave Izuku. I want to talk to my son." His mama looked down at him as he shook his head no quickly. "Go sit down," she said despite him. "Talk with your father, please." He nodded slowly, kicking his feet as she left, and he sat in the stupid chair. "Izuku, kiddo," his dad said, touching his leg gently. Izuku stuck his tongue out, pulling his legs up to his chest as he rocked. "No, you're a bad dad." He slammed his eyes shut, refusing to look at his smelly dad. "Izuku," he said again, this time louder. Izuku still didn't open his eyes. His dad sighed, tapping Izuku's knee gently. He cracked open an eye to see his dad holding a small piece of hair out to him. "I need you to do something." Izuku took it, twirling it around his finger as it sparkled. "What is it?" he asked, looking up at his dad. "Eat it." Izuku stared at him in shock before sticking his tongue out and dropping the hair. "Ew! It's gross!" Izuku said, wiping his hands on his shirt. "Izuku, please," his dad begged, pulling another strand of hair from his head. Izuku didn't take this one, shaking his head. "If you do it, I'll buy you a strawberry cake," he offered. Izuku's eyes widened. "With the white top?" "With the white top." Izuku grinned, grabbing the hair from his dad's hands. He shoved it into his mouth, swallowing quickly. It felt gross and tasted even grosser. "Now the cake?" he asked, grinning at his dad. His dad nodded slightly, a smile on his face. "Thank you, Izuku. Don't tell your mom, okay?" Izuku's face twisted as he shook his head. "Why?" "I'll buy you a new stuffed animal," his dad offered. Izuku giggled, clapping his hands together. "And an All Might figure?" he asked, grinning. His dad flinched, nodding slowly. "And an All Might figure." "Okay," Izuku said, hopping down from the chair. "Pinky promise?" His dad nodded, taking his pinky. "Pinky promise," he said quietly, and Izuku nodded, stepping back and wiping his hands on his shirt. The door creaked and Izuku raced to answer it. "Mama!" he called, jumping at her. She gasped, catching him with a laugh as she moved the hair from his face. "Toshi?" she asked, adjusting Izuku. A loud beat filled the room, and his mama gasped, setting him down quickly. "Toshi!" she yelled, racing over to his dad. Izuku went to peek at his dad, but people rushed in, and the nurse let him out quickly. He heard his mama scream as more people kept going in. He didn't know what was happening or why everyone was yelling. He stuck his hand in the nurse's pocket and grabbed out another lollipop, grinning. "I need you to wait for your mama out here, okay?" the nurse asked, not even scolding him for the lollipop. He nodded, hopping into the chair and unwrapping the lollipop. "My dad's buying me a cake after," he announced loudly, kicking his feet. The nurse rushed off, leaving him alone to think about his new figure and the cake. And that is the end of Chapter 1. I hope you guys enjoyed, and don't forget to tune in next time. This was Station 07.1 Podfix.